Prime Minister Scott Morrison says Australia won't sign a rushed trade agreement with Boris Johnson unless it's the right deal, as both leaders prepare to thrash out the final terms over a lavish Downing Street dinner. The new post-Brexit economic pact is due to be settled this week during Morrison's 5-day tour of Britain, but a dispute over tariffs and quotas for agricultural goods still needs to be resolved. This deal is important, of course it is, Morrison said during the G7 summit being hosted by Johnson and Cornwall. But I'm patient for the right deal, not any deal, and it's important, I think, for both countries that we get the right deal. And so I'll be patient for that, he says. Wary of a backlash by British farmers, Whitehall trade negotiators want tariffs on Australian beef and lamb products phased out over 15 years, a proposal the Australian side is unlikely to accept. Johnson's cabinet is split between those who think a true free trade deal should sweep away all tariffs and quotas, and others who fear more Australian meat will harm British farmers and want caps on how much fresh food can be imported into the United Kingdom. Morrison had dinner with Johnson at Downing Street on Monday evening, where the pair sought to resolve the agricultural issue and other outstanding areas of disagreement. Australian Trade Minister Dan Tehan has been meeting daily with Britain's International Trade Secretary Liz Truss to clear the way for the Prime Ministerial approval. There has been some speculation that time might run out for an agreement to be reached out, but a signing is far more likely than it's not. If we are able to achieve that in the next few days, great, and I'm sure Prime Minister Johnson would welcome that as well, Morrison said. But Australia is looking for the right deal, not any deal. Scotland's Rural Affairs Secretary, Mary Gowan, wrote to the UK's Government International Trade Secretary Liz Truss last week, raising significant concerns about the negotiations. She said, "I remain extremely concerned that the UK government is prepared to sign up to a UK-Australia free trade agreement that would lead to a sustained increase in imports of Australian agri-food produced to a lesser standard and on a scale not seen on UK farms." Representatives of 14 companies and trade bodies have also written to Ms. Truss, warning about the way trade deals are being negotiated, claiming they are rushed and there has been a lack of consultation with the industry. Alistair Jack, however, said the deal was a huge opportunity for Scottish producers, which could open up lucrative market in the Asia-Pacific region. He told the BBC's The Sunday Show, "We believe that the best beneficiary from these trade deals is Scotland's food and drink sector. Whisky is our biggest drink export, salmon our biggest food export, and we see enormous advantages." While unable to give details at this stage, he insisted there are safeguards built into the trade deal. He also dismissed claims that it would allow cheap, lower standard imports to flood the market. "We won't be taking chlorinated chicken in any trade deal we do. That's illegal in the UK. We won't be taking hormone-induced beef into the UK. That's illegal," he said. "We will have safeguards built in around the amount of product coming so we don't see the market swamped or dramatic price reductions." The Scottish Government has asked for urgent discussions of the trade deal and asked Ms. Truss to attend a meeting with representatives of the devolved administrations scheduled for later this month. Australia and the UK began negotiations last June, but the coronavirus pandemic and protectionist demands from Britain have delayed an agreement. Australian Council of Trade Unions President Michelle O'Neill said unions wanted to see economic modelling that proved an agreement would create good jobs in each country. "We call on the governments to be transparent about the contents of this in-principle agreement and immediately begin consultations with trade unions about the detail of the agreement," she said. Early modelling by the British government suggests the overall benefits would be relatively small, with a deal forecast to lift UK GDP by 0.02% or £500 million. That's 915 million Australian dollars. What's slowing down the UK-Australia free agreement, you will ask then? From the UK perspective, Australian agricultural products are a big worry, with the National Farmers Union publicly pleading for tariffs to remain on Australian beef and sheep. In the words of NFU President Minette Batters, a tariff-free trade deal with Australia will jeopardize our own farming industry and could cause the demise of many, many beef and sheep farms throughout the UK. While the UK government has moved to placate concerns by phasing in the tariff removals, the farming union remains unequivocally opposed. It contends that whether tariffs are removed now or in 15 years' time, the damage will be irreversible. Australian farms are much larger on average due to the relative size differences between the countries, and Australian farmers have different regulations when it comes to growth-enhancing hormones for its cattle and the cattle industry, which are completely banned in the EU. UK farmers are concerned they would not be able to compete with Australian prices without tariffs. Australia's reluctance to ease the ability for UK citizens to work in Australia under certain visa and investment conditions in a reciprocal deal is also putting a pause on signing, according to sources quoted in the Australian Financial Review. But what is in it for Australian SMEs? Securing mutual recognition for professional qualifications could benefit Australia's growing financial and professional services industry, according to DFAT. The UK is Australia's third largest services trading partner, accounting for 7.7%, that's 13.9 billion Australian dollars of total services trade in 2019 and 20. From the Australian perspective, the UK FTA would help primary producers diversify away from Asia. China is Australia's biggest export market for the agricultural sector, leaving Australian farmers painfully exposed when tariffs follow from political disagreements between the two countries. In 2020, China placed tariffs of 200% on Australian wines and has more recently confirmed they will remain for the next 5 years. Winemakers could potentially see tariffs removed for entry into the UK market, as the deal would override the current EU tariffs, which in 2019 were 13 to 15 cents per litre. The UK is Australia's largest export market for wine by volume, according to Wine Australia. Some 267 million litres were exported in 2020, an increase of 19% from the previous year. As a comparison, the US imported 136 million litres and China imported 96 million litres. Currently, Chile and South Africa both have zero tariff wine exports to the UK, with Australia hoping to secure the same deal. The FAT is also aiming for the improved access to government procurement markets for Australian suppliers on the basis of clear and transparent rules for tendering. It's not yet clear what this will look like on paper. The FTA also seeks to simplify digital trade between the two nations by reducing digital barriers. The goal is the free flow of data, ensuring customs duties are not imposed on electronic transmissions, according to David Collins, Professor of International Economic Law from the University of London. For financial and professional services businesses and Australian agricultural producers, the potential benefits are clear-cut. For other SMEs, the details following from the initial in-principle agreement will decide the difference. And we still have to wait and see what's coming. I definitely will talk more about this week. And so I have to say, I'll see you in my next video. Auf Wiedersehen.